Hello, welcome back to Jesse's Vintage Garage, and this is going to be our part 2 of working on the gear chest stuff. We feel really good about what we've done so far with this. It's a long road, this whole gear chest part, but it's a very vital and a very important part about the whole motor. It's I get the cylinders and stuff's important too, but if you don't have your gears just right, like we've talked about in the last video, like part 1, it's pretty much a mess because you have noises that the motor will make that will send you to thinking that you got lifter problems or you got a generator that's seizing up or something.
Yeah, they'll either whine or not.
Yeah, so we're really looking good here. I mean, this thing rotates really good with all the gears in it, and we are ready to split the two halves and start there and then work our way out. So let's get going. There we are. We got this case is split, and we have this the thrust washer to the backside now against the flywheel side, and then we have the larger retaining ring put in there, and we have all good clearances yet. So anyways, we're ready to put the gasket, the anaerobic anaerobic gasket maker. Panheads normally run around 230 to 240 oil temperature, and it's usually measured by the heat of the oil at the oil tank and oil dipstick. And this stuff here is good for up to about 300 degrees or so, and then otherwise there's hotter stuff that they make that's good for like 400 degrees, whatever. We used 510 on the UH because we know, and a lot of people know, that flatheads usually run hotter or warmer than overhead valves. So this one running at around 230, this 300 degree max temperature should be pretty good for this, keeping it from breaking down or whatever with heat. So we'll apply this and get the two halves put together now and get ready to put the gears in. We got the casing on, the 518, and then there's some extra here and there, but it'll get washed off that's exposed to oil. But this other stuff will create a good seal here between the two halves. And we're lubing the bearing right now. It's assembly lube, so we should be good to go here. Ready to set the other half on. We got all the studs in, and we got the nuts all in here and pretty much ready for the torquing. And these are 5/16, so we're going to be going to somewhere between 17 to 20 foot-pounds. And we're going to do it in a crisscross pattern like it says in the manual. And it just says tighten securely. It doesn't really give you the torque spec, but for 5/16 or whatever, it is usually around 17 to 20 foot-pounds. So we're tightening them down in like a crisscross pattern. We're using an inch-pound. So we took 10 foot-pounds, converted it to inches, and it's 120. And that's going to be the initial start, and then we'll probably bump it out to 15 after that.
Okay, we got all of them inch-pound to there. Now we're going to do what?
15.
15? Okay, 15 times 12.
Alright, we have it reset at 180 now for 15. So then we just did top center, so we'll do one down here. Then we'll go over here. And maybe back out over here. Or down there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we could go. Yeah.
I'd like to get those main bolts.
Yeah, the alignment studs.
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe back over here.
This one? Or where? Here?
Yeah, probably that one. Then you got that one left, and you have this one left.
Let's do this one next then.
Right, yep. Alright, there we go. Alright, so we got done doing 15, and now we just got done bumping this out to 18, and we'll do this one up here later, the breather, later time, but we got all these nuts torqued down to 18 now. We're ready to move on to the oil pump. So we got the oil pump mounting studs installed in the case over there, but we're going to talk about oil pumps for a second here. Now this is an original oil pump that came with the bike. I painted it all up and got it ready for the bike, for the motor, and lo and behold, it was wore out. And the problem with the aftermarket, not really after, let's start with this first. The problem with the original oil pumps is they wear out real easy, and everybody is all amped up to having an original oil pump because they're better. And I don't disagree with that. It's just the fact that they wear out and people don't know what they're looking for to find out that they're wore out until after they buy an original one for odd god amount of money because they're special, and they're junk because this hole right here gets wore out. And if that hole is wiggly like that, that means that oil will bypass that and it's wore out.
Because there's a gear here and a gear there. You got pressure, you got return. So pressure is squirting into the return, and you're losing oil pressure to the motor.
Right, and then sometimes I've seen where you can buy original pumps from old bikes, and this pin here is all gone. Came out.
That's another problem.
That's press fit in. If that wears out and comes out on its own and isn't stay press fit nice and firm in there, then the oil will bypass that as well.
And it allows the gears to move around.
Yeah. So we ended up going with a new reproduction oil pump from V-Twin. They do these really well, I feel, I've seen. Of course, you can see minor details and how they look different. It has a reinforced piece here because a lot of times these break off because when people go to change out their pumps, they hit on that with a hammer and it busts off. And, well, this reinforces it, makes it a little bit stronger. The gears, now you can see that the original one and the aftermarket one here is a little bit larger. Takes a special set of gears that comes with the pump and a brand new shaft. And when we put the shaft in this one,
Barely fits.
It barely fits, and it doesn't even move around much. And anyways, we have to set it up.
The shaft is bigger, so you have it won't wear out as fast, and you got more bearing surface, so it'll last longer than this little one.
Right, and on the inside here, it's almost identical looking otherwise. Maybe a little bit better here and there.
There's an extra hole for some reason.
For bypass, yeah.
There's a pin here, and this one don't. I don't know. There's little differences.
And the original one has a little bit of a sticks out a little bit here. This one don't, and then the case actually has a little recessed area this goes into. So, I mean, we have to, of course, set it up with all the different stuff. Now this bypass pressure, the pressure valve is a special year range on the 56, because in 55 they changed it and they went with this style. So we're gonna go with this style with this bike, and they changed them again and when they went to the overhead oiler. And we have this one installed already. It's just a spring in the ball. Oilers? Yeah, outside oiler, not overhead. Outside oiler, yeah. Thanks. And then you got your part right here where it actually is like a chain oiler. So we're gonna run the set. We're gonna bottom it out and tighten it up because we don't need to run that. We'll be running an O-ring chain anyway.
And a belt drive.
And a belt drive on the inside, so on the primary. So yeah, anyways, we're gonna get ready to install this. I just wanted to go over that detail on these two different original pumps and overlooked wore out thing. And don't waste your money on the ones you see that are used, because you're probably buying a wore out pump.
That's why they're selling it on eBay.
Yeah, or wherever. And it's just, sorry to say that, but that's kind of what I've come across and I'm seeing happen to other people. So here's the oil pump we were just talking about, and then a different used original oil pump. And then the other thing I want to put emphasis on is the fact that when this is all wore out like this, and you get your oil up to temperature, and it's a lot thinner than it is when it first initial starts and starting to warm up because it's a little bit thicker. It starts bypassing through here, and that's what we're trying to get at. And then the other thing is when it bypasses like that, you're losing oil pressure. And then when you come to an idle later after you're riding it, and your light starts flickering or your gauge starts fluctuating like whatever you're running, that's the indication that the pump is going bad. It's nothing else. It's pretty much that. And that's the problem with running the old original pumps. They do make they do have like a conversion chart thing where you can actually like take a later pump like off a generator shovel and work it to get it to work on these older 50s and 40s pans. But I didn't want to run that because it makes the whole pump's different looking. It makes the whole motor look different. So I wanted to have this traditional look. That's why I went with the V-twin oil pump, brand new fresh one. So that way it actually has good oil pressure at idle and at road running speed. So and of course when it initially starts. So anyway, I think I covered everything there. Getting ready to install the oil shaft here, and luckily this bushing is in really good shape. It's nice and kind of tight there when we put it in.
Yeah, it's real nice.
So the first thing we do is we lube it up and we put inside there, install one of these keys, and then put the gear on.
Yeah, listen to this.
Holding suction,
yeah.
And then we put a retaining ring on to lock the gear in place.
Sharp edge out.
Yeah, there's always two sides to the keepers. Like a retaining ring, I mean, there's like a curved edge and a sharp edge. So we always put the sharp edge out, or to the thrust side.
Get it quite on there.
No, it's pretty close.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to squeeze it too hard. Get off there then. Start over. It's a son of a bitch put this in. I did, because everything's in the way.
Yeah.
It's almost would have been easier to do this before we put the case halves together.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Because, see, everything's in the way. There it goes. Yeah. It's on. Okay, now you push it out here. There it is. Now you put your key in where you can get to it, I guess. Get my tweezers. Gotta push it down. Now we gotta turn the gear. There it goes. I like that. Okay. Now we gotta come over here.
We have the other gear installed. It's a thinner one.
Yep.
And then it has a special little
it takes the little
keeper.
the little one.
So there's two different keepers. There's two that look like this, and then
There's
about
one
half
that's size.
like half that size.
It's not pointed.
Okay, so then we have that installed.
Now we need a gasket
A gasket and pump.
and a pump. Boy, catches on all the threads. Kind of makes me want to put the bolts in last. There we go. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, there's another. Yeah, another one of them.
yeah, alignment stud.
There it is. All the holes are open. Okay.
All right, then it's the you got another narrow gear and or thin gear and the pump.
A little oil on it. Okay. Now we're ready. We gotta make sure that shaft don't push in. Yeah, these studs are just so wonderful. There it goes. Oh yeah. And the key fell out.
Oh no. Got the pump on and we got the gears installed here and it rotates pretty good, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty good. Next up, we're ready to put
Got a little land play.
the outer cover on it, put all the nuts on there, and tighten it up to the engine. We're gonna lube it up with some oil first before we get carried away with putting the cover on. We got all the nuts installed here. We had to put this tower nut in here because they have that because this is so close right here. You can't get in there with any sort of tightening tool when the hex is down into here. So we got that looking pretty good, and we're ready to start finishing up the rest of the stuff here. And of course, we got it all tightened down, and it still rotates.
It turns over real nice.
So just make sure you keep checking that because you don't want that to bind at all. And then we got to tighten this down, and like I said, install the rest of the
Pressure relief.
and then the pressure switch
And the cutoff.
Oh yeah, that, and then of course there's a couple fittings we have to install. We have to install a fitting here and down here yet. So, and then we do have oil coming in there, so we got a little leak coming out of our hole there. So yeah, it's a good sign. So yeah, I got the caps. I put these fittings in and capped it off so oil doesn't come out or any sort of particles go in there. And then we tightened these nuts down to 120 inch-pounds. And they didn't really say it in the book. It says like securely in a pattern. So we started here, down there, up here, down there, and so on. But yeah, so then we're ready to move on to more stuff. Oh, and the other thing is we were kind of concerned about the oil pump when it was all tightened up, if the cam cover would go on. But nice thing about this pump though, it's got a flat relief here, so we should be able to get the cam cover to go right by there when we go to put it on. So good thing to find that out now before we found out later that we weren't able to get the cam cover on them. Put it on later. Right, so we got the idler gear in here. We mocked up putting the generator in. We wanted to make sure that we had some free play here on the gears. And there is some movement there. We have a nice lash there, I would say. So when this engages, it won't be like binding. It'll be able to spin smoothly. And then, anyways, even if it did have that, we wouldn't be able to adjust it because the 58 and later generators don't have a shim set like the 57 and older 3-brush generators do. So it's held into place with bolts going through here, 5/16.
That and there's a boss on the generator. See here.
Oh yeah, and there's of course we've got to put a gasket in too, but we don't have the gasket in. But
there's a boss in here. When we pop this out, you'll see that it engages. It engages around here on this thick part of the generator. It goes into the case and it's tight.
Yeah, it just fits.
It just fits into this boss, into here. So that's what
I mean, we're taking it back off anyways because we gotta, when we go to put it in the frame, we gotta have access to these holes. So that's gotta be put on when it's in the frame. So anyways, we're ready to start putting gears in. All right, we got the key installed there, and we're ready to like work the oil pump drive gear in.
So you got to walk it in. There it is.
All right, then we got our spacer and then our spring.
No, we leave the spring off. Now we got to put another key
Oh, the other
in.
key. Okay, the other key is here.
Because the spring's going to stick out here. That's for the pinion. I like to have it tapered a little bit in the front. Okay, now you can put your spring on. See? And then we got to have our pinion. Like that. Got to have the pinion.
Yeah, then our left-hand thread nut there.
Okay, now we're going to find out what the torque is on that.
So the pinion shaft, this is a later 58 style and so on for all pan heads, and then going into the generator shovels and the nose cone shovel heads and onto the Evolution, they all use the same type of pinion shaft out here. So the torque spec for this is 35 to 45 foot-pounds using 262 red Loctite, and that's what we're going to torque it down to.
And we got a red Loctite it already.
And we have our rod locking tool up here, so we should be able to torque it down.
Can't use this torque wrench. Gonna have to wait.
All right, so now we had to get a different torque wrench because not all the torque wrenches actually torque down in reverse setting. So this one does. So left-hand thread. So there we go. 35.
40.
Oh, you did 40 right in the middle. Okay, perfect. Should be good then. Okay, so now we're gonna put the distributor gear in, and we gotta probably line up some of our markings now too. Same with like the breather here.
We'll have to time it all this time. And I'm putting in, I'm gonna put some assembly lube on the bushings. And there's a groove between the two bushings. If I can get it in here. Stuff is really stiff. There you go.
All right, we're putting the distributor gear, drive gear in, and we got it lined up right here.
Like that.
And we have our other mark to the top, so we can line our cam up with that.
That's where the cam goes.
Yeah, our cam will.
And the breather. Okay, you got the crank there?
Yeah, I got the crank held in place.
Now we're gonna put some more lube on the stuff because we don't want any dry starts.
Okay, this breather, it's timed off with the cam gear, so we'll put this in now, and then yeah, then we'll be able to time it after that.
Come on, it goes in there real easy. Okay, now we're going to bring timing mark up here. Okay.
Now with the cam.
Camshaft. Okay, so now we got to have this and the shim, and we've already shimmed it earlier, so we know we got end plays.
And we have to have that little tapered edge there.
Facing that way.
Facing that way.
That taper follows this taper, and that's for the lifter block when it goes in, so that it doesn't hit the lifter block edges when it sticks down in here. Okay, now so I got to put this. I got to put this one like this, and this has got to go. What's going on here?
Looks like you got it.
and there, right?
Yep.
There, and there.
Yep, correct.
And this is here. So it's all timed. This goes on here, the thick one. Idler gear. Put some lube on the bushing. Because you don't know how long this is going to spin till it gets some oil worked up in there.
Yeah, and in the case there's a little groove in the back so it can like line it, fall into the shaft there. See it back there, little groove. It'll fill up.
Oil can fall in there.
Yeah, I don't know how well, but it's designed that way for that. So.
No gear, no timing bar.
Yeah, no timing bar on that.
And then we got the thin that goes here. There's that.
Okay, and then we got to put our shim on the breather gear, and then we were able to put the timing cover on.
No, we got to put the baffle.
Oh yeah, we got to sample the baffle in here. The baffle is designed to keep oil from going up into that tube though when it starts to fill up. So, and then if your system's working properly, it'll never go up into that big tube anyway. We talked about that in a different video. So, otherwise, yeah, if something's not right and start puking oil out the breather, then yeah.
I put some heavy oil in here so that it sticks, that we don't lose this.
Yeah, we don't want it to fall out when we go to final assemble it.
Okay, so now we got to put the plate together. So got to get the screen.
We're getting ready to install the breather baffle here, and it goes, the notches go to the inside and then the screen looping underneath of it. We're going to install it just like that.
It's right like this. Its notches are in, and it goes all the way in back to the back. Just like that. And the purpose of the screen is when oil comes up here, that it's trying to breathe. No, it's trying to breathe back there. See, and the screen's got to be way to the rear. And what's happening is as it's breathing, it's not pulling oil up to the breather. So,
all right, and then yeah, now we're ready to get a gasket and put the time cover on.
Yep.
We're going to start installing the Tappet blocks here with the tappets and lifters, and we want to do that before we put the cam cover on, I believe, just in case, so we can make sure everything lines up. But they only kind of go in one way anyway. But and each block is differently designed to go into each one of these, so we can't really mess that up. But they are hydraulic, so we're going to end up having to pump them with oil later down the road. But for right now, we're going to just assemble them into the blocks, put them into the engine here. All right, tappets and tappet guide block, all that stuff here. So, installation. Install the hydraulic tappets through the bottom of the tappet guide so that the tappet oil holes face the center of the guide, like shown here. Right now we're lubing the rollers and the tappets themselves so they get their initial lube while we're installing this stuff. And then we can take these bodies out anytime and we'll lube that up and pump them up too later. That way we know that they're all primed and ready to go. But it should look like this when we go to put it on. This applies to the front and the rear tappet blocks because they're designed differently. And so be it. I mean, that's kind of how it goes together. And then we'll go over the tappet oil screen after this there, and it goes in the front right here, and we'll talk about that in a little bit here.
Big axle stuff.
All right, so we got the lifter block down for the rear one here, and it's torqued down. It goes 9 to 12 foot-pounds. We converted to inch-pounds. We did 10 foot-pounds, so we got 120 inch-pounds here. And that's set up. It's all looking good. And then now we're going to do the front one here. The lifters we ended up going with, just started off talking about it, but it was a S&S brand, 330-380. They could work for hydraulic tappet roller for 53 to 84 big twins. These were kind of spendy. Had to bought them a few years ago, but yeah, or like around $400 or more for tappets like that. Because when you go to buy these, you can either buy it just the tappet part, or you can buy it with the actual hydraulic parts. But it's better off probably to get the whole thing together. And you don't want to use used unless you have used and you're working with your own originally used parts, because
and you know they work.
and you know they work exactly. I didn't want to make a swap meet special motor here and have a bunch of used parts in it and find out that it just blows apart because it's all like on the edge of not working components. So, anyways, we did tighten these up with we used Loctite. We used blue Loctite 243, and we took out the little tapered shake-proof washers. All these do is really like they lock it to kind of keep it from coming loose, but it also tears up paint and chrome. But the blue Loctite will work the same way, so it'll be good, better off that way. And this is the correct 54 through 60 something. 54 through 75 style screw, and it came in a colony kit here, 8604-16. So anyway, just got done getting the other one lubed up, and we're gonna drop it in there.
Gotta get this right.
All right, we're getting ready to install the front one here, and they make special tools to hold these up, so when you can change out cams like in Evos and stuff. I don't have one, but
if you just set these in here and hold together, they won't fall out.
Because we don't want them to fall out as we're putting it in.
You got to make sure that you can line up the hole with this. So this goes in over here, just like this.
Yeah, because we want them to stay in the right position when we got to put it down. Otherwise, it won't really tighten up right correctly.
Yeah, and I got to get the gasket lined up.
All right, we're ready to put screws in pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. It's all in there.
All right. Okay, ready to torque these down. Yeah, 120 inch-pounds. All right, then we'll take these out for now, and the hydraulic units out. Yeah, double check them. Yeah, so now that we've seen that the rollers are actually engaged nicely with the cam, now we can put the cam cover on.
Sometimes the gasket shrinks.
All right, we have excess lube here for initial running, and all the shafts been lubed up too, and same with the spacers. We just got done lubing the bushings and the cam cover. I'm ready to pop it on there.
Let's see where this goes. This goes down here, right?
No, it's gotta go up.
Here?
Yeah, inside there, yeah.
Hmm.
Is it being a problem with the thing?
Yeah. Goes up here? Yeah, it goes up there.
Yeah, I had no problem before because you didn't have to worry about that thing getting messed up.
Breather wasn't in there yet.
Yeah, there you go.
Baffle.
All right, then we're ready to start installing our cam cover screws. One of the things we got to install is the oil screen assembly. We're working on a 56, 58. So I mean, it takes the oil screen style from late 52 to 1962 because they changed it when they did the outside oiler thing here. But they started this when they had hydraulic lifters. And anyways, it talks about in this manual here how to make sure you go through this and clean it every time you change the oil. Just kind of clean it out and everything. But in this picture, they're not showing the spring and the ball that's supposed to be in here, like the parts book shows. So I want to kind of point that out. And I got this kit for this bike, or this motor here, from Colony. It's a 12, or from V-Twin, and it's a 12-0159 oil Tappet screen kit. Fits 1952 to 62 big twin, and it comes with all the stuff. It comes with a couple cork seals, the ball, the spring, and the filter assembly here. It's kind of broke down. You got to build it, and then a cap. Well, the cap and the brass washer's fine and dandy, but the cap is actually built a little bit wrong, and this piece does not fit down inside here properly, like the original one would. But I wanted to run a chrome one from Colony anyway, because they had a nice chrome one, and it's the oil screen plug. Talks about how it fits all 52 through 65s, and that's right here. So you can see that the plug's different, made differently, and it probably wouldn't thread properly as well because of the length here. That and the recessed area here for the filter assembly to sit inside of is different as well. So now this thing can actually fit here like so and go down in it like it's supposed to. Actually holding the correct tension on the spring with the ball inside here. So you gotta watch that kind of stuff. But usually V-Twin makes some pretty good stuff, but I can't believe that this plug is so far off. And it looks better being chrome there with the rest of the black and chrome stuff on the bike, so on the motor. So anyway, so what happens is you take your body there, you run the filter into the back here, goes into this little area here, it recesses into that hole there, like so. And of course the spring sits down on top of here, and then the ball sits inside this end here. And then you put drop the water, or the rubber, or the cork seals down inside there, and so be it. And then the Colony one comes with a copper crush sleeve. And then the V-Twin kit came with a brass washer here. And in the description here in this print talks about it being an O-ring. So it's kind of whatever fits best here. So we're going to go with the Colony plug. So we're going to use the Colony crush gasket here. And that's just a hollowish copper piece with some material on the inside that creates a seal when it gets smashed. So very common sealing component, both on British bikes and in Harleys. So anyway, we'll go ahead and put that in now. Alright, so we got these parts laid out again here. We just got done talking about it, and then we're going to install it just like so in that picture. So we're going to put these in first.
Fall in, huh?
Should.
Oh,
It
yeah?
should just sit down in there.
Oh, yeah?
I see it's not going. Yep. Just like that, yeah. And then the spring.
No, the ball.
Oh, yeah, the ball first. Duh. Ball. Okay.
And spring.
And our crush washer and our cap. Alright, so there we go. Alright, so here is the pressure. Is this a pressure relief valve?
Yes.
Yeah, so then, anyway, we're going to install this. This is a 54 through and later style. And we're going to put that in.
That's got just two flats.
Too flat, so we need a wrench that fits that. I don't think that's big enough. I think maybe 11/16 or bigger.
Needs to be 3/4.
Yep, 3/4. Tighten that up, and then we'll install this adjuster here.
It goes down here somewhere. There it is.
And then you got the screwdriver to bottom it out, and then we'll tighten the nut down.
I don't know how tight you want it. It's a needle valve. So.
Yeah, you don't want to like mess up the seat.
tight. Okay.
Yep, so we got it seated in and we got it tightened up.
Tighten up.
So there we go. We got the bottom end ready to go in the frame. We got, well, let's put these studs on, I guess. It might be easier to put them on now.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's do that quick. All right, we're getting ready to install the cylinder base studs. These get installed at 10 foot-pounds. Of course, the coarse end goes in, and then the fine end, 7/16 goes to the outside for the base nuts to get tightened down too. We don't have a stud installation tools, but we got two 7/16 nuts that we're gonna lock together and then run it in like that. We want to run it in to where the pretty much goes all threads in. Maybe just a little bit if we can't, hanging out. That way it can compensate for the cylinder base flange, and then a washer, and then the hex nut. We don't want too much threads hanging out when the base nut actually gets tightened down. Okay, so we had the nut installed there, and then we had a washer.
Thickness for the washer. Ooh.
So we want about that much hanging out where your thumbnail is. Otherwise, the nut, yeah, the nut won't be flush with the stud. We want that to be flush. Don't want it to be hot, sunk or exposed.
1, 2, 3, 4 threads sticking up. By the time you tighten it, it'll be just about flush or just barely under.
So that's where we want our stud to be at.
Yeah,
So we have a gasket down also to measure that. So
we'll want to measure. We'll measure this stud when we take it off.
and then we'll put all the rest of the 7 in just like this one.
Yeah.
Here we got all the studs installed at the specific height. And putting the last one in here, and we'll be able to use the dial caliper to figure out our height and stuff. Get out of your way there.
A little too deep. Like that.
There we go. Yeah, we use
A little
blue
deeper.
Loctite to lock the coarse threads into the cases. So,
Right there it is.
all right, cool.
They're all the same height.
Yeah. Well, here we are. We're got the whole bottom end pretty much together. There's a few things that need to happen yet, like distributor and stuff. We'll work on and putting the cylinders on and stuff, but we'll do that all when it's in the frame. So this pretty much ends this segment. Hope you enjoyed everything. And next up, we'll be working on getting the rolling chassis together and getting that ready to accept this bottom end in it. So yeah. So anyway, hope you enjoyed everything, and we'll see you again soon.